Hey guys, this is Damon Rawls from the Black Business Directory, and here we're having another conversation. You're here in an episode of Conversations where I get to interview great business owners in the world. And so today I'm going to be having a great conversation with Jessica Robinson. Jessica Robinson. I always get her name mixed
Everybody
up,
does.
but Jessica Robinson, and she's the CEO of Laura Faye. And so, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. Thank you.
I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you're excited.
I
So,
am.
where does the show find you today? Like
Find
where?
me on my
Yeah, where?
platforms. Absolutely. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Laura_Faye. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Laura Faye LLC. And of course, you can find me on my website. It's laura-faye.com.
All right. I always like to start with an easy softball question. So,
Okay.
why did you start a business? Why did you do this?
I know, right? Why did I do that? Well, coming out of college, I knew that I was going to be in the fashion industry because that was my major for my undergrad. I just didn't know what aspect. And so I actually started out with jewelry and I was making jewelry with a business partner. And then we decided to do handbags. And then I ended up just giving her the jewelry company and I started the handbag company. And honestly, I got it honest because my father is an entrepreneur and he started his business when I was, I want to say, maybe like 6 or 7 years old. And it's the business that he still has today. And then my mom also owned a daycare. So she worked for herself for years. Um, so I just found that if I'm going to work for somebody, it might as well be me. And in between undergrad and grad school, I took a year to work for the man. And I was like, okay, like I rather punch my own clock. I rather, you know what I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
do it
Yeah.
myself and do it how I want to do it. So it really started out as a hobby, and then it was like, okay, you either make this your full time thing and like go full force and make a success of yourself, or you go back to working for somebody. And I didn't want to do that, so here we are.
So when you took the plunge, and the plunge is a very scary place, and the plunge is where you leave, that secure job and check and benefits to doing your own thing and living on what you eat, living off what you kill and eat, and whoo, that's a very scary place. So how was that for you? How was that transition? Did you just cut the cord and just jump, or did you strategically do it over a small period of time? How was that for you?
Yeah, it was a small period of time. I actually was doing some work for my dad's company to kind of sustain and supplement as have been making the transition to just Laura Faye full time. So I really, I mean, most people can't say that. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, I am so blessed to be able to have that kind of support system to where I had a conversation with my dad. And I remember I was sitting in the parking lot of a grocery store and I was like, look, I'm about to graduate from grad school. Like, I don't really know what I want to do next. Like, I want to go full force with Laura Faye. And he was like, I'll create something for you until you can do this full time. And so I'm so blessed to have that.
Yeah, that's definitely a beautiful thing. And
Hmm.
so as they say in the movies, message,
Yeah.
like you saw her folks left a legacy from their business into hers, which allowed you to catapult
Yeah.
and be where you are. And I'll say you have some really great handbags. And
Thank
so,
you.
guys, her handbags are, ladies, they're dope handbags. So
Thank you. I got them all
listen.
right here. So whenever we get to that, I'm ready to throw them on.
So okay, let's stay on the topic of parents for a second. So
Hmm.
since your parents were entrepreneurs, um, did they want you to do it, or did they want you, because being an entrepreneur is tough.
Hmm.
It's tough. So did they want you to do it, or did they want you to have the solid career and then go do it possibly?
Funny story. I was in high school and I was like 15 years old maybe, and my dad came to me and my stepsister, who we're the same age, and he was like, I have this really cool idea. You guys are in high school. I will, because back then, because I'm 35, right? So this was like 20 plus years ago. Back then, the canal street was like flooded with the
Mm-hmm.
knockoff handbags, and he was like, I want to create a handbag company for you guys. And he was like, I know, right? He was like, I'm gonna buy these handbags and you guys can just sell them at your school. Like, he was trying to get us into being entrepreneurs even at that age. And I remember she and I was just like I was very, very timid. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I mean, that sounds cool, but like, I'm gonna have to talk to all these like people I don't know at my school, and like, I just wasn't into it. So fast forward, it's
Mm-hmm.
like wild to me that I'm like doing handbags, and I wish I would have kind of taken him up on that then. But saying that to say, my parents have always been really supportive of whatever I wanted to do. They never I have four parents. I have a mom, a dad, a stepmom, and a stepdad. All four of them, they never pushed me in any direction one way or the other. It was almost kind of like whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I've never had a conversation other than with my dad. He would give me strategic
Mm-hmm.
encouragement to how to price, or I actually introduced vegan leather bags because I had a conversation with him and was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't reach I haven't reached this audience yet to spend this amount of money for this higher price point. So he was like, why don't you create a lower price point? So um,
Mm-hmm.
directional information in the form of like that, but not like, well, you should just stop making bags altogether and go get a job. Like, no.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's yeah, you're lucky. You're
Yeah.
lucky to have. I come from an entrepreneurial family, so where
Okay.
it's I think I think the special thing about entrepreneurs and everybody who really has the bug, like it's just in you, right?
Mhm.
It's in you. There is nothing you can do to get around it. It
Yeah.
is like I'm just this person. No
Hmm.
matter what it is, no matter what environment, I'm always looking at the world, seeing where
Yeah.
there's opportunities, where there's voids. Like it's just in
Yeah. Those are the conversations you're having in your household all the
it's
time.
like just regular eating breakfast conversations like, oh,
Yeah.
did you notice that there are no XYZ in the world? What if
Right.
there was a
I can't even tell you how many times my dad like will sit down and he's always thinking of something, how to create something, how to sustain something, how to give, how to,
yeah,
million different ideas. So yes.
yeah, it's just I think it's just in us.
Hmm.
Um and there's certain level of entrepreneurs, but for this type, it's just in us. Um, so you've been chasing the dream. So how long have you been in existence, or chasing the dream in this iteration? Because I know you started and shifted. So
Yeah, I would say for the last 3 years, I've been focusing on pursuing Laura Faye as my full time career. I would say so. It's been 2015 was when I launched my company, um, and at first it was just like something I was doing. I kind of say as a hobby, but that's not really the right word. I just wasn't, it wasn't sustainable for me to just
hmm
only be doing that at the time. So, but the last 3 years, completely full time. And now I'm gaining so much traction. So I'm right on track
hmm
to be able to look back at those 3 years and just, I'm so glad I made that decision.
were you let me are you very analytical? Did you create a growth plan for your business, or are you shoot from the hip, go with the gut? This is what feels right,
At
and
first,
that's how you grew.
At first I was. I've
Yep.
always kind of just been like, hear it, like see it, do it. And even with my bags, like I just started like sketching because now I have a manufacturing company and they require
Mhm.
you to send them like complete sketches of everything. I never sketch. I would think about an idea of something and I would just make it. But now I do. And last year, within the last 2 years, I
Mhm.
sat down and created a full business plan, a mission statement.
Mhm.
So I kind of did all that after the fact because I was like, if I'm gonna sustain this, then I need to start from the beginning or even start from the end. What are your end goals and work my way back to put that on paper. So
let's stay there for a second.
okay.
So for the people who think that it's not important to do that type of stuff, how do you feel that your business shifted once you did sit down and create a growth plan, create a
Mhm.
mission, really internalize what your vision for Lord Faye in the world looks like?
I mean, to be honest, that's scriptural. That's a Bible verse. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
exactly where it is, but it says, if you write it down, it talks about make a plan and write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can see it, I mean, it's just like you have people all the time like creating vision boards, and like you'll have people tell you once you can see something on paper, and once you write it and then once you speak it, then you have something to see every day. It's like for whatever reason, and I guess that's like just the laws of like spiritual things, like it just is what it is. Once you put it on paper, you have an obligation and to fulfill that thing, or you go a different direction.
I think when you put things down on paper, it is my true belief when you pull it out of here, right?
Mm,
Because it all sounds good up here. It all
right.
sounds good in your head. Then when you pull it out of the ether, put it on paper, and then clean it up, because then you're able to see the holes in your thinking.
Yes,
Because you
yes.
can't see the holes in your head until you put it on paper, and then you go, "Oh, well, I missed something." And
Hmm.
then you can add, take away,
Hmm.
etc., and
Yeah.
then execute on that plan.
And then
So,
refer back and say, this, I accomplished this, I still have this to go and tweak
mhm,
this part. I've done a lot of referring back to, because I've done my goals like for the year, and then with fashion, like I've just broken it down in quarters. So it's been interesting in the last year, this year, to kind of see, okay, I did that this quarter, that this quarter. It's like, and then too, you need to be able to celebrate yourself and celebrate your wins as an entrepreneur and a small business owner. You need, if nobody else is celebrating but you need to be able to say, oh, in this quarter I may not have done that, but I did that, that, and that. And like, you need to celebrate yourself, because no, it's harder to have that morale and to have that reason to keep going, if you can't see how far you've come.
oh, wait, good stuff. Good stuff. Like celebrating yourself. Entrepreneurs are so tough on themselves, and
Yeah.
so you never get a chance to celebrate. I'm glad you brought that up. So,
Mhm.
what are some ways that you celebrate your wins?
Oh. Yesterday I took my first day off in probably like 2 weeks. That was a celebration for me. How do I celebrate my wins? To be honest, I mean, it's more so mental for me, just like the sense of accomplishment. I mean, I do have times where I spend time with family, or, you know, um, it's not like I have these huge, extravagant celebrations. For me, it's more so mental, and it's that sense of accomplishment and
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of like, okay, like being proud of myself.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's important, because it can be so, especially for me. I work from my home studio, and my son is at school all day, so I'm here alone every day. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I mean, I have, you have your people who check on you and stuff, but for the most part, like every day, it's just me. And so, um, I need to be able to look and see what I've done to keep going.
Mm. It can be very lonely.
Yes.
That's so, yeah, for the people in the audience, entrepreneurship is a very lonely place.
Hmm.
If you go look at some of the statistics on CEOs and depression
Yeah.
and suicide, etc., like it's a lot, because it is a very lonely. I mean, you're by yourself. You're make, as I call it, making the donuts, right? Like you're
Mhm.
making the donuts. You're doing the thing every day. Boom, 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 boom. You wake up, you do the thing you do. You go to sleep, you dream about the thing. You wake up and you do the thing, and you eat and you're thinking about the thing, and you think. And even when it's bad,
Yeah.
you're thinking about the thing even worse. And the bigger you get, it becomes more complex,
Yeah.
right? When you start adding in employees, and then you worry about, like, now for the quarters, like we're making payroll every week or two
Right.
weeks, etc. Like
Hmm.
those things can, like, I didn't have any gray hair until I
Okay.
until I had employees, and then like all the grades just whoosh,
This
and
started
then
coming in.
man, oh my god, yeah, we had 35 employees, and it was just like
Wow.
uh,
Wow. It's a
uh,
lot to be responsible for.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, it was a lot. It was a lot. But we're no longer in that business, so
Okay.
we're cool. We're
Yeah.
now strategically, I'm at a different place, um, but it can be a lot. So let's talk about some of the things you do as a CEO to like decompress and take some of that pressure off.
Oh my goodness. My favorite place to be in the whole world is at my church. Um, Seriously. So I'm there like 3 times a week. And I mean, yeah, Sunday, Wednesday, Monday. That's where I look forward to that. That's what I do to take the pressure off. Every morning I get up, my routine is I send my son off to school and I devote an hour and a half to just praying and reading my Bible. Um, I don't have any reasons to worry. I literally have nothing to worry about.
Mm,
That's what I do to decompress. And then other than that, I mean, I do hang out with like my family on the weekends. Since it's football season, we've been watching the games together every Saturday. And I have like my best friend, we just make sure we have a time like every night where we just touch base and kind of just
hmm
reconnect. And then spending time with my son who just got his driving permit and just hanging out with him. I know. I know.
That's
So there's
scary.
that.
That's
Yeah, there's
scary.
that. I might get some little grays coming in
They're
myself.
coming.
Yeah.
You can have
But
a whole SWAT of grays, a big
just a
patch of
whole
gray.
patch. Yeah. But no, honestly, like I'm so heavily involved like in my church and outside of business that is like the main part of my life.
Nice, nice,
Hmm.
nice. So the handbags. Let's
Yes.
touch product for a second.
Okay.
Um, and I want to talk about the original plan. So the original you originally started with jewelry and then moved into bags.
Yeah.
Was that the plan, or did uh was there a breakdown in the business where you decided to take a shift?
Yeah. So we started with jewelry. Actually, when I was getting my undergrad degree, between my junior and senior year, I had to do an internship. So I did it at Dillard's and I met someone who we became friends. She was actually my manager, but she hadn't graduated. I want to say the year before I did, or maybe 2 years before I did. And so once my internship finished and we were still friends, we were both into the same type of like, with fashion. And we
Mm-hmm.
decided to start a jewelry business where we were making jewelry and we had a blog. And then later on, we decided to add handbags. And so I actually didn't know anything about sewing. I borrowed a sewing machine from my mom's best friend and I set at like a small Singer sewing machine, like one of them basic ones. And I sat at my kitchen table. I was living with my parents still. And I taught myself how to thread it and how to sew. And I went to Joann's and got like some vinyl. And I was like, I have pictures of like my first bag. So then we were doing that. And then there was just we just had different directions that we wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I was like, okay, well, you just take this and then I'll just start doing bags because I was going to be the one to make the bags. That's why I was learning.
Mm-hmm.
So once I kind of just gave her all of that, then I started Laura Faye. And for those who don't know, that's why when he first started, he was like Jessica, because he always called me Laura, which most people do. So Laura is my mother's middle name, and Faye was my grandmother's name. And so I was like, okay, just in my room coming up with different ideas. And then I just started playing around with like making bags on YouTube University, teaching myself
Mm-hmm.
how to sew. I did personal styling for a while. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how Laura Faye really came about. It was more so, I think I can do this. Like, okay, I'm sewing this and I'm teaching myself, and I'm kind of feeling this. Like for my first bag, like this is not bad. Like it's not too shabby. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then that story kind of, I was in another fabric store And I had like one of my first bags, which was, I got to show you a picture. It's pretty decent. But this man came up to me and he was like, "Did you make that bag?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he did leather upholstery. And
Mm.
I feel like he was an angel because he was like giving me tips and he was like, "Come see me at my shop." And
Oh,
my
wow.
mom and I went to his shop and we probably sat down for an hour and he taught me how to like just little tips to how to like
Mhm.
finish the bag. I never saw him again. I never heard from him again, like nothing. And that was like so strategic. And then he had like this huge industrial sewing machine. And I
Mhm.
thought if I could turn my camera around because I'm at home, you would see like my whole sewing room is like my sewing space, and I have like this huge machine. So the next week, I went and bought that machine, and I and it delivered to my house, and I stared at it for like a week.
Did you know how to use it?
I did not. That's why I stared at it. Yeah, and then of
That's so entrepreneur. I'm gonna spend this money on a
it's like
machine
$1,200. Yeah.
that will help me grow my business, but
Yep.
I don't know what to do with it.
I have no idea. And then I mean, I found a YouTube tutorial of this
Mm.
guy who made leather bags, and the machines were similar, and I just taught myself how to use it, and it's trial and error, and that story just goes on and on with where from then to where I am now. But yeah,
I
I
love
think I
it.
answered your question.
Yeah, no, yeah. You did. No, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I love that you bought the machine. Well, first off, the consultant in me does not like that you bought the machine without knowing how to use it or having an idea of what you wanted to do. Let me
Yeah.
say that first. I
Okay.
don't like that.
Okay.
However, I get it, and I would have did the same thing. Like if I had been consulting you at that time and working with you, I would have been like, Jessica, what you mean? Why did you do that? And then you would say, I just got it. Okay, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
I was determined. I was determined.
All the time, I have clients that do stuff, and I'm like, "What are you doing that?" And they go, "Cause I have to."
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. I'm
Yeah.
cut from the same cloth. I get it,
Mhm.
but it is so bad. It's
And
so.
you know what? That was my first industrial machine, and it ended up being like just a straight stitch machine, and it was not made to sew bags.
That's my point. That
Yeah,
is my point.
but I thugged it out. I I mean, so many times that thread broke because my that fabric was too thick, and I just figured out how to do
Mhm.
it until I could get the next machine. So yeah,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it. I love it. So did you? So did you? Let me ask this about a couple of pieces. In did you bootstrap um to start up the jewelry and throughout, or did you find like did you go to banks and get loans, etc.? I know people like to think about finances, so
yeah.
financing. So I just wanted to ask how did you handle that?
Yeah, for the jewelry business, it was so small, and we were literally like, it wasn't costing us a lot to make what we were making. So she
Mm,
and I kind of just both personally financed that, and we did have like a business bank account, but we didn't have to take out any like loans or anything. So for Laura Faye, going back to my dad originally, like he invested certain lump sums that I needed to start certain things. For
mhm,
example, I did a 3-month pop-up shop at MacArthur Mall in downtown Norfolk, Virginia.
mhm,
And so to he like kind of funded for me to like be there. And then fortunately I'm not brick and mortar, so my only expenses really thus far up until now, like with my manufacturing and all that, thus far just had been material. So
mhm,
I was smart enough not to buy a whole bunch. I would go to the leather store and
mhm,
I would just get like one hide at a time, which would
mhm,
maybe be $100, $200 or something like that. And then I can make a certain amount of bags out of that,
mhm,
and then buy more leather. And my website didn't cost that much. So I pretty much funded myself. Now I am looking into grants,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I'm just applying for grants. I mean, I'm applying for so many grants right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're at the next level, so
Mm-hmm.
Um, audience, that's what happens. Like
Yeah.
you tried along, and then sometimes to get here, it, when you bump up to a certain level, it takes some investment. It definitely takes some
Yeah.
investment. So,
It does.
um,
I actually will say this too. In the last couple of years, I had saved up enough money to where, and hopefully this inspires somebody, to where I could either take that and put a down payment on a purchase of my first home, which is what I really wanted to do, or I could take that and invest that into this manufacturing company for my bags. And so that's what I did.
mm,
Mhm.
mm. Ooh, I don't know if y'all caught that.
Mhm.
Sacrifice,
Yeah.
sacrifice for the long dream. I
Yeah.
mean, we make choices, right? We
Mm.
chose this life, and and I will say this to people when they say, "Man, this is tough." We chose this life,
Yeah.
right? We chose this. We chose to live on the edge, and we chose to push through, and and you make decisions like that, right? Is delayed gratification?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I'll be able to do that next year.
yeah. See. Think about the amount of time, and I don't know how long it took you, but I know it wasn't quick to save
Hmm.
up the amount for the down payment.
Hmm.
But you've spent that, but you're quickly gotten there the next round,
Yeah.
and boom, things will happen. So
Hmm.
that's
And that's just that driving force even more like, okay, I have to make this work.
yeah.
There is nothing like I'm not as much as fortunate as I am just talking about like my family and stuff like that is not my fallback plan. My plan is me.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm. So what? Okay, let's talk about the dream then. Where's the future? Because we're gonna start to wrapping up because I know how people are. But
Okay.
where's Laura Faye in the future?
Laura Faye in the future is in stores. I actually am in talks with a network right now um, to potentially start selling my bags on a television network. I
Mm,
also have a show coming up in a couple of months where it's an apparel market to where I'm going to start selling wholesale. And so I'm just believing like one order could put me in hundreds of stores across the country. And then I actually have a mentor who is also working some things out for me and trying to, we're just in talks with a couple of department stores.
mm-hmm.
So just shooting my shot all over the place. It's going to go
Just
in
just
soon.
grinding, just
Hmm.
grinding.
Yeah.
Can we let's talk about mentors for a second? I want to stay there. I just
Okay.
want to touch on that. Like
Yeah.
how beneficial have mentors been for you? Um, in it's a two-part question. So let's start there. How beneficial have mentors been for you?
Invaluable. Oh my goodness. I've been living here back to Knoxville for 3 years. And the first 2.5 years, I really wasn't connected at all with any mentors. Well, except for I had one. Did have one. Um, but I was just so like in my own bubble. And then I got connected with 100 Knox program
Mm-hmm.
and I met all of you guys. And I it's like you guys have been such a bridge for me to connect with so many more people and so many facets and just to open up my mind and my eyes to like people really want to see you succeed. People really want to help you and there's so many resources out there. You guys have given me so many more ideas cuz you in anything you do, you always need a team. It can't just be all, you're not going to think of everything on your own. You're not going to be able to do everything on your own even that you weren't my main mentor, but you came in on a conversation
Yeah.
with my main mentor, and just the ideas you were giving me. Um, I met with Patricia Nash's daughter Jennifer last week,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, she was emailing me today about just some different stuff. So
Yeah, I
it's just
love
been so
Jen.
invaluable. Yeah, she's so cool. She's very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, we go way back. We go
Yeah.
way back.
Okay.
We were young professionals together. We're like 20, no, we're about 15 years back. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
Hmm.
you know Jennifer.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know that family, but
Yeah.
that's so that's all. I mean, so okay, so there's mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and this conversation is relevant because I've had this conversation with someone that I was working with to this morning, and
Mm-hmm.
they were telling me about all the people in their ear
Mm-hmm.
telling them what they should be doing, but none of these people were in business.
Mm.
So how do you handle the folks like that who are, hey girl, what you need to do is, girl, what you should be doing is.
Yes, yes. My mentors never did that. It's funny, the ones who have the kind of the authority to be able to tell you those things, they guide you in a way that they know you need to be guided. But for the first several years, I can't even tell you how many people you should do this. I mean, and being a young entrepreneur at that time, like not knowing what I know now, it was overwhelming to me. Like every time somebody told me what they thought I should do was just another, it was very, very overwhelming. And I had to just kind of draw a line,
Mm-hmm.
and not be available to take certain advice from certain people who had no idea. And that's just kind of
Yeah,
establishing boundaries.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't believe you should. I Now I do believe in customer feedback,
For
and that
sure, for
and
sure.
customer feedback, folks, is people who've paid for your goods or services.
Hmm. Yes.
Those are customers.
Yes.
Folks with an opinion who are not customers, their feedback is a little different.
Right.
So, and
Hmm.
then there is, those people who you hold dear, who are in business, who understand what it is to make the donuts, who understand how it is to make payroll, do these things, etc. They give a different level of advice.
Hmm.
They
Absolutely.
definitely give a different level of advice.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate you. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you giving me some time today for
Hmm.
this conversation. And this was a great conversation.
Yeah, we could. I
Um,
feel like we could go for another 30.
oh, easily, easily,
Yeah.
easily, easily. Like we could do a round table. Like
Yes, yes,
we do a Q&A. Like throw us your questions. What you got?
yeah.
Um, but again, tell the folks where they can find you, and we'll post this your stuff up in the comments. I mean, in the description as well. So,
Mhm.
but tell the folks again where they can find you.
Yes. Well, you can shop these bags
See, I
at,
told y'all it was dope.
at laura-faye.com. You can find me on Instagram at laura_faye and facebook.com/ I think it's Laura Faye LLC. And I actually also have a YouTube page. It's /Laura Faye handbags.
All right, and we will put all that in the description. And before we end, did you guys hear how heavy that metal was that
I
clanked?
mean,
That ain't cheap,
this
baby.
this was some quality sourcing. So every single thing is like super, super just yeah, developed just for you guys. I didn't want this to be too thin or too heavy, but yeah, thought
That's
in
that's no cheap rapper chain, right? That's
mind.
some
Right.
metal. That's some metal right there.
Yes, it is.
Well, I thank you for your time, and thank you guys for listening to this conversation. And I hope you like the channel, because we'll be interviewing other entrepreneurs and introducing them to you, and you can definitely connect with them and on your journey through entrepreneurship too. Or as a consumer, reach out, buy their goods and services, love
Yes.
on them. So
Yes.
we just want to grow this community. And so thank you guys for being a part of Conversations.
Yes. Bye, guys.